Good morning, class 7. Today we will start with the fifth chapter of your geography, water, which is one of the most important thing for the survival of all the living things. Let's begin with the chapter. When you think of water, what images come to your mind? You can think of a river, of a pond, waterfall, pitter patter raindrops, water in your taps, etc. etc. Children love to float paper boats in rain puddles. By noon, the puddle vanishes. Where does the water go? The sun heat causes evaporation of water into the vapor. When the water vapor cools down, it condenses and forms clouds. From there, it may fall on the land or sea in the form of rain, snow, or sleet. The process by which water continually changes its form and circulates between ocean, atmosphere, and land is known as the water cycle. That you can see in the figure 5.1. You will be drawing this water cycle in your notebook very neatly and color it along with the labeling as well. Our earth is like a terrarium. Terrarium is something which you can see in the picture here. It is like a glass jar in which you can put some humus, that is a soil, some plants big and small, put some moisture in it, little bit of water that is, and then you close it. So it can give you an idea what is happening. It little bit of water, the water circulates, and that helps the plants to grow, and that little rainfall can also be observed, like it is that water circulation, that water cycle is happening, it takes place there. So the same water goes that the water existed centuries ago still exists today. The water used to irrigate a field in Haryana may have flowed down the Amazon River 100 years ago. The major sources of fresh water are the river, ponds, spring, and glaciers. The ocean bodies and the sea contain salty water. The water of the ocean is salty or saline as it contains large large okay just a moment, class. Why does the water of ocean is saline? The reason is, what happens is the river, it floats, moves from the hills, breaks down the river, the rocks, it comes and still comes down to the ocean, and still the water is still there. The water evaporates, and that little bit of salt particles are also there. The water evaporates, but then the salt particles remains, and this process keeps on, it continuously happens for years after years, for thousands of years. This process is continuously happening. So the salt particles which is remaining is there, and that is increasing every year. So that's why the salinity is also increasing. So the salt particle remain. Amount of dissolved salts, most of the salt is sodium chloride or the common table salts that you eat. So if you bring a bowl, a bowl of seawater, and you evaporate the water, what is left is the salt water. Distribution of water bodies. We all know that 3/4 of the earth's surface is covered by water. If there is more water than land on this earth, why do so many countries face water scarcity? Is all the water on earth available to us? The following table gives the distribution of water in percentage. Ocean 97.3, ice caps 2, groundwater 0.68, freshwater lakes 0.009, inland seas and salt lakes 0.009, atmosphere 0.0019, river 0.0001. So you can see the table here. Water distribution can be demonstrated by a simple activity. You can see read this activity, how it can be demonstrated. Ocean circulation. There is something magical about walking bare feet on the seashore. The wet sand on the beach, the cool breeze, the seabirds, the smell of the salt in the air, and music of the waves. Everything is so fascinating. Unlike the calm water of the ponds and lakes, ocean water keep moving continuously. It is never still. The movement that occurs in ocean can be broadly categorized as waves, tides, and currents. Okay, and March 22nd is the day when we observe the World Water Day. Waves. Waves, when you are playing or when you throw ball on the beach and the ball falls into the water, what happens? It is a fun to watch how the ball gets washed back to the shore by the wave. When the water on the surface of the ocean rises, falls alternately, they are called waves. During a storm, the wind blowing at very high speed form huge waves. These may cause tremendous destruction. An earthquake, a volcanic eruption, or underwater landslide can shift large amount of ocean water. As a result, a huge tidal wave called tsunami that may be as high 15 meters is formed. The largest tsunami even measured as 150 meters high. The waves travel at a speed of more than 700 kilometers per hour. The tsunami of 2004 caused widespread damage in the coastal areas of India. The Indira Point in the Andaman and Nicobar Island got submerged after the tsunami. So, when you talk about the waves, it's very nice if you visit a seashore and you see the waves. The water rises up and it falls down. But then, when what happens when during the storm, what happens? The wind. These waves are caused because of the wind blow. When the speed is high, or sometimes when the earthquake takes place. So it's not necessary that if you're sitting at certain place, if there only the earthquake takes place, then it will have the impact. At distant place also, if it is taking place, then the impact could be felt. So tsunami is the result of it, and it can cause destruction. We have seen it in 2004. Tsunami or the harbor wave struck havoc in the Indian Ocean on 26 December 2004. The wave was the result of the earthquake that had its epicenter close to the western boundary of Sumatra. The magnitude of the earthquake was 9 on the Richter scale. As the Indian plate went under the Burma plate, these were sudden movement of the sea floor causing the earthquake. The ocean floor was displaced by about 10 to 20 meters and tilted in downwardly direction. A huge mass of ocean water flowed to fill in the gap that was being created by the displacement. This marked the withdrawal on the water mass from the coastlines of the land masses in the South and Southeast Asia. After thrusting the Indian plate below the Burma plate, the water mass rushed back towards the coastline. Tsunami traveled at a speed for about 800 kilometers per hour, comparable to speed of commercial aircraft, and completely washed away. So you can understand it this way, that there was an earthquake. What happened was, you can understand that there was the complete plain was there, and suddenly it broke down, and there was a gap, and it was filled with the water from the ocean. And that way the people who were sitting nearby, they felt the thrust of the water, and because of this the pressure could be felt, and it caused huge tremendous destruction. Some of the islands of the Indian Ocean, the Indira Point in the Andaman and Nicobar Island that marked the southernmost point of India, got completely submerged. As the wave moved from the earthquake epicenter from Sumatra towards the Andaman Island and Sri Lanka, the wave length decreased with the decreasing depth of water. The travel speed also declined from 700 to 900 kilometers per hour to less than 70 kilometers per hour. Tsunami waves traveled up to a depth of 3 kilometers from the coast, killing more than 10,000 people and affected more than lakh of houses. In India, the worst affected were the coastal areas of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. While The earthquake cannot be predicted in advance. It is possible to give a 3-hour notice of a potential tsunami. Such early warning systems are in place across the Pacific Ocean, but not in the Indian Ocean. Tsunamis are in the Indian Ocean as the seismic activity is less as compared to the Pacific. The tsunami that ravaged the South and Southeast Asian coast in December 2004 is most devastating tsunami in the last several hundred years. The large damage caused to life and property was primarily a result of lack of monitoring, the early warning systems, and the knowledge. Then comes the tides, the rhythmic rise and fall of ocean water. Twice in a day is called tides. Tides can be seen twice a day. That means 2 times in a day tides can be observed, and it is rhythmic rise and fall. You have to memorize this definition. The rhythmic rise and fall of ocean water twice a day is tide. It is high tide when water covers much of the shore. When most of the shore is covered, because of the high tide by rising its highest level. It is low tide when the water falls to the lowest level and recedes from the shore, that is less part of it is covered. The strong gravitational pull exerted by the sun and the moon on the earth's surface causes the tide. The water of the earth closer to the moon gets pulled under the influence of the moon's gravitational force. So the tides are the cause of the gravitational force from the moon as well as the sun. The gravitational force, like for example, if you take a pen and you leave it, it will of course fall on the earth. That is because of the gravitational force of the earth. Same ways, the waterfall, like the gravitational force of the moon and the sun causes, because the land mass of the earth cannot be pulled, so the water which is there, it is pulled by the gravitational force of the sun as well as the moon. These tides are called and they have they get pulled to the influence of the moon's gravitational force and cause high tide. During the full moon and new moon, the sun, what happens is the full moon, the new moon, that day the sun, the moon and the earth, they are in the same line. So they are in the last quarter, and the ocean water gets drawn that day. The water is drawn diagonally. The position, that is you can see the position, the water is drawn diagonally, and the opposite direction of the gravitational pull of the sun and moon, resulting in low tide. These tides are called neap tides. So high tides help in navigation. So during the full moon, new moon days, the sun, the moon and the earth are in same line. The tides are highest. These are called spring tides. When the moon ends in its first and the last quarter, the ocean water gets drawn diagonally by the gravitational force, and they result in low tides, and the moon resulting in low tides. These tides are called neap tides. Low tides are called neap tides, and the water level close to the shore. This helps the ship to arrive in the harbor more easily. So these tides are helpful also. And then we will talk about the ocean currents. Obviously that doesn't mean that if you touch the ocean you will get shock. It is something different. Ocean currents are stream of water flowing constantly, but then these currents, why they are called currents? Because they move in a definite direction. Maybe it can be warm or it can be cold. Warm when they are moving near the equator towards the poles. The cold current carry water from the polar or the higher latitudes, or the tropical or lower latitudes. The Labrador ocean current is cold current, with the Gulf Stream is warm current. The ocean current influences the temperature condition of the area. Warm currents bring about warm temperature over land surface. That's all for today's class. Please do the question answers. Draw the water cycle in your notebook. Take care of yourselves. Be safe at home. Thank you, class.